This episode is brought to you by the Thrive Tribe. Check it out at chasingbrighter.com/Thrive Tribe.
Hey, Kelly, how are you doing?
Good, Jess. How are you?
Kelly, I don't even know. Our school is changing so much. We hate our school right now.
Why
And
is
after
that?
doing everything the same for 7 years, they're changing the
Uh-huh.
award ceremony. And so here's what it says. It lists all the award ceremonies, and then Gabby's is May 29th.
Okay.
Our last day of school is the 23rd.
That's weird.
Do you think they're going to go back? Every family is going to go back on a Thursday at 1 o'clock in the middle of the day for their kids' awards?
No.
And they're like, if you don't get the awards, go by the office and pick it up. Peace out.
Yeah,
Bye.
maybe you don't need to. Then I wouldn't go.
No, we're not
That's
going.
that's interesting. My kids never get awards. We don't.
This
It's
is a
not thing
big
around here.
deal
I
of
think it's
this
really
school.
cool. I
Like
think it's
this,
very nice
right?
they do
And
that.
so they usually do like excellence and whatever. And so Dominic's teachers are just handing him all these excellence, and they're like, "We're not doing that." It's just weird to me that they just change everything without telling anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like all of a sudden, everything is totally changed. And it's just, I know for Giovanni, at least they're keeping it the same because it's a really big deal that he got straight A's this year. And so I know he's excited and he wants to dress up. Dominic checked out. He doesn't want to go. He feels like F everybody. He's probably just going to flip everyone else on the way off. Like he is so checked out. He said yesterday that he was taking this final and he went like this. And like, he's so big. His like thighs hit the desk and she was like, "You got an F, Dominic." He was done with the final and he was sitting there. And he goes, "Are you serious?" And she said that he was being like disrespectful. He was like, "Mom, I swear to God." And so afterwards, all these people, she said Bert moved his hand and she was like 0, 0, 0. And then afterwards she held them all back and she was like, "I'm giving this to the dean. I'm sending a letter to the dean and the dean will be letting your parents know and they're going to decide like how it's going to go." Never got a letter from a dean. And I go, what's more distracting? Like kids doing their own little thing or a teacher going, you fail. Like during the test, wouldn't that stress you out?
That's awful.
And he got a 97 and he was like, she was on a power trip. And we were just like, Dustin and I are also checked out. And we were just like,
I will say that the 8th grade, when Wes was in 8th grade, it's when they instituted detentions for the first time in school history because of Wes's class.
yeah,
And Wes had one class. It was 30 some kids, all one class.
yeah.
And honestly, yes, the kids were rambunctious. I spent a good 3 days in a sleepover with them. But I think to your point, at this stage in
Yeah.
the year for those 8th graders, like dial it in, teachers. Guess what? Those kids are cooked. They are done. They are checked out. So every single year, you're going to have the same
That's
thing
what
with
I was
every
saying.
8th
And
grade class.
also, these are all the honors kids. And I literally saw kids for 15 years who were on the honors track in high school and suicidal. You think it's fucking funny to tell all these kids a day before school that they get a 0? You know what I'm saying? Like, some of these kids are like psycho. You know what I mean? If you have high anxiety and you need to get straight A's and you have this pressure on yourself, that's messed up. Like, it's so uninformed.
That's
The
a good
elementary
point.
school is so different. And we were
Does the middle
talking
school,
about
is it a
this
step
morning.
change at that school? Like a different vibe, even though it's
A-
all one campus?
Absolutely. Yeah, because there's 3 different buildings. It's like the elementary building, the middle school, like it's all different. It's all totally different with different
Do
dudes
you
and everything,
think
different
that
stuff.
there's a couple things I feel like there's some dynamics, but I'm wondering like things are changing where teachers are getting we know teachers are getting burnout. Let's think about this cycle, right? So it's like teachers were burnt out from COVID. It's been like 4 or 5 years and they're just like, they're done and they're not sure how to cope with
Yeah.
kids not doing what they want. And kids are having more attention issues because they're in they're more screen stuff, or they have
Yeah.
more stimulation. So unless you're like a really amazing teacher that can hold their attention, that's got to be hard too. So it's like
Yeah.
this. And also being in middle school, it's like the worst because then you got hormones, you got all these other things going on. Note to self, don't get into middle school teaching.
No, I would
But
say that would be the hardest to me would be middle school teaching. But I think
yes.
too, like they changed the curriculum without talking to anybody. Our school, I've been talking to a lot of staff and parents recently because Dominic had really been stressed out this year and he had not been stressed out the 2 prior years. And they were like, yeah, they changed the curriculum without talking to anybody about it. And I know that the curriculum that Gabriella had her freshman year, they were like, this is the hardest, the program they use for math, they're like, this is the hardest in the country. And I guess I feel like, I don't know if they did that for middle school, but hardest doesn't mean better. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because something's hard. And I feel like what has been happening in the school, and this is also my children's experience, is that it's like, we don't, Nevada has some of the, CCSD is ranked like the worst in the country. Does that mean our schools are the worst? No, it just depends on the school.
And what are those
But people
metrics? Like
flock to
kids who go to
charter schools,
college or
right?
kids that
Well,
graduate?
people are flocking to these charter schools because our charter school now is
Yes.
like nationally ranked and really great. And
Yeah.
so they have a waiting list. So they're like, we don't care. They have really low retention for high school. And it feels like we don't care because we're at capacity and we'll just get more people. That's what it feels like right now. And it's definitely it's getting that vibe. And we're very fortunate. We are zoned for schools that are ranked very highly in
Mhm.
this. And so
Mhm.
we for free can go. I just had chose because I have 3 schools of different ages, it was really great to be at a K through 12 because they
Yeah.
all were at the same
Yes.
school.
Yes.
But Dominic would be going to a different high school anyway, and how stressed he was. I talked to Dominic. I said, "Dominic, if this was your 6th grade experience, I don't know if I would stay here for you because I don't think that it's worth it for you to be so stressed out. That's ridiculous.
But that's
Dumb."
like, is this stress, what is the cause of the stress? Is it busy work? Is it a heavy workload?
It's
What
a
are the
heavy workload,
sources?
it's busy work. Dominic puts a lot of pressure on himself, but, like, he had like, his lowest grade was is like a 97.
I
And
had
so
a
in his mind, this is how 6th grade was, so 7th grade went, this is what I expect of myself, and so I didn't get a 97, so now I've gotta put in all of this extra work to make sure I still get a 97, and then his friends are getting lower grades, so, like, his workload is higher, and it's more difficult to get the grades he was getting.
But do you also, I hear you, and I think about this because I feel like I had a friend, one of Wes's classmates with a similar challenge where, do you start to see, and maybe Dominic does too, where that grading becomes more subjective? And so part of the challenge is that he's expecting a certain grade and he's putting in the work. If you, what I mean is like for some teachers, because as teaching, you get teachers who aren't that good. I'll just say for like,
Yeah,
whatever, maybe they're
right,
younger, whatever it is. But
right.
like, he's a kid who you give me the rubric, you tell me what I need to do, and I know exactly how I'm gonna get it done
Yeah,
because I wanna get all the things to get it
right.
done. And if you start to have teachers that aren't great at that, and there's a lot of gray area,
Yeah,
or and so
yeah,
he's thinking he's doing great and he's not, it gets really hard. My friend who that happened to,
yeah,
he ended up going off to high school, and he's just killing it.
yeah.
Because I think in especially going to a better high school, they have, or a better school for lack of a better word, but they have better structure, and it might not be that the other teacher wasn't good, it's just not a good fit for those
So
types
here's
of
what
kids.
happened to him. He really lucked out and got this incredible teacher for English and all. I think this is total bullshit. I'm such a mental health therapist. I can only think of things through the lens of like mental health, right? All of a sudden, mid fall semester, this great teacher left. They took the woman who taught 7th grade honors and put her in 8th grade, and she's a completely different teacher. She's much tougher on the kids. She has a different subjective grading curve. So you were doing it one way, and now mid-semester, you have to do it a different way, and there's no, "Let me give you guys an opportunity to learn my learning style." It's now all of a sudden, all these kids are getting Bs and Cs and not doing well, and "Oh, this is how I grade now. You are in honors, and this is how it is." And so they were just thrown into this whole new
Was
teaching
were
style,
was there anybody getting A's? Because sometimes I also wonder,
and
like,
there
if they,
was overlap.
if
Yeah, because he and his friends all compare and talk about grades
okay,
all the time and who's getting what,
it ebbed and
and
flowed.
they have an overlap where, like, the new teacher followed what the old teacher did for, like, a couple weeks. But I just think that changed, and then, Dominic is like, "This teacher she hates this class," right? There's another teacher, she hates this class, she yells, "Our class is the only class she likes." Dominic's mom, "It's so crazy, people are so disrespectful in class." So when you talk about subjective, are you just in a bad mood or what? And so when Dominic has a multiple choice test, there will be everything's automatic now on the computer, and he'll go back over it and be like, "That's not right." And he'll go fight with the teacher to get his grade changed because the automatic change made it. But when it's like a written paper, when there are written responses, again, it's so subjective. You're a teacher, you're pissed off. It's just really it's just interesting. And again, Gabby had a struggle her freshman year, but I just felt like it was like a collective, "This is a transition to high school. This is our stuff."
Yes.
The
Yeah.
whole school
Yeah.
was on board with helping it, but it
Mhm.
just felt like they just changed the curriculum and they were kind of like, "F you. We're not telling any parents. I didn't tell
Mm.
anybody they're doing it. This is what's happening. Tough shit." Like they don't get to redo anything. They don't get extra credit. They don't get anything. This is our policy. Peace out. Where it's I understand with CCSD or public schools, you gotta retake your tests repeatedly, and I know it depends on the teacher, but that's so difficult when when your kids are seeing their friends in other schools get all these chances, and then you have a teacher that's just, "You have a 0 because I said bye." I don't know, it's just very interesting. So it's also just it's not just, like, the curriculum and everything, but it's also just the vibe of we don't care, and again, we have a wait list, so we'll just get new kids. That's what it
Yeah, I
feels like as a
that's
parent.
yeah, and I think that's really unfortunate
Yeah,
that if you
and
feel that way.
Giovanni is in elementary, and everyone says elementary is a completely different vibe. It's different staff, it's a different building, it's so different, like, elementary is so different. And then for high school, Gabriella chose to stay because we decided to do the dual enrollment track where, like, her junior year, she's off campus, and her senior year, she'll be taking all dual enrollment college classes, and so she's just, "This is what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna go to school as a job and leave." But Dominic is much more, like, social and ingrained in school, and so he wants a school that he cares about, that he wants to be have a
Will
buy in.
Gabby need to be will she be taking, like, any classes at that
Not her
school
senior
this
year,
year?
but what we're
Okay.
hearing is, again, because the school is turning psycho, is that they're gonna be changing the dual enrollment program and forcing the kids to be on campus for certain classes, but for your junior year, they pay for 4 college classes, and you have to take 1 on campus, and then your senior year, they pay for 5 college classes. And
You
so
don't have to be on campus.
no, and
That's
she could
great.
be done in the summer, she could be done with high school because she only has 2 classes to take. But she does like her friends and like her school, and I know you would think that wouldn't happen, but she actually got closer with all of her friends at the community college because they were like, "Oh, what class are you taking?" And they all would find each other and text around and find who from high school was taking that class. They went to, like, study rooms together. Like, we found out it's a little bit of a shit show this year, but we were like, "Oh my god," all of a sudden we found out she had to register for fall classes. And so we were like she was, like, texting all of her friends and asking about professors, and I feel like it's like they all have their own little culture going on and their own little vibe, so she is having a community
Her
experience
experience,
even
she's having
though
her experience.
yeah, and but every kid is different, and it's
I think
you
that's
know
the
yeah,
part,
and so that
yeah.
worked for her, and Dominic wants something different, and it's gonna be different for Giovanni, and I feel because CCSD allows you to retake and is, like, a little bit different, I'm like, that might be a vibe that will be easier for Giovanni. You know what I mean? I'm just like, why would I have him be stressed out and sick at school with these teachers that don't seem to care when we could go to a school that we're zoned for that has a different vibe? So, something that we're gonna be thinking about.
Yeah, Beckett really wants to do a more academically challenging school, and the thing is you have to test to get into those, and for 7th and 8th grade, it's next year, and he's very intelligent, and it's going to be still like 1% of the kids get into these schools, so
Yeah.
there's just no way. I think it's very rare that he'll get in, but I'm really trying to tell him, like, he's still gonna be successful in high school, even if he's not academically challenged in that. But he to your point, there's so much more. Like, we all have this pressure for our kids to be academically successful, but there's so much more that they can get out of these, and, like, even just learning he had this thing just really quick. He came home with some AirPods. "Jordan didn't want these, so I paid him 30 bucks and I got his AirPods." And Brian and I were like, "What? Those are like $100
Yeah.
AirPods. Are you sure?" He's like, "I just didn't like how they fit in his ears." And I was like, "I'm gonna text his mom." I didn't text his mom. And then I had to go get the next day he came home. As soon as he came home, he's like, "Where's my AirPods? I gotta take them back." And I was like, "Are you gonna get your money back?" He's like, "Yeah, we gotta take it all back." So I texted the mom and I was like, "Hey, Sherry, Beckett, did I tell you this story already?"
No. No.
So I was like, "Hey, I don't know what happened, but, like, Brian and I were joking that it's like how do we know if it's not like the kid's like dad's AirPods? The dad's like looking all over
Yeah,
for him and he brought him to
right.
school and sold
Yeah.
and made $30. So I texted Cher. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm really sorry. We're not raising Beckett to be a swindler. We
Yeah.
got the AirPods for $30. I don't know what kind of shady dealings these like 10-year-olds have. I was making light of it, right? She immediately calls me and she was like, hey, honestly, she was like, Joran has his own money and he's doing his own thing. And she's, I don't really know what's going on, but it sounds like he bought them from Sebastian, who didn't want them, and he traded him for a pencil case and a mouse, like a computer mouse. And then Beck bought the ones because Jordan ended up not liking them. So Becca bought them from him for $30. She's, you know what? She's like, I'm not going to get too involved. I'm going to let them sort this stuff out. Jordan has his own money. She was like, he buys gold. And these aren't like, we're not like super wealthy, bougie people. She was like, he buys gold online, like he saves his money. And I was like, this is hilarious because Beckett saves his money and buys a computer and like a 3D printer. So like this is his vibe of people for sure. And she was just like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to let them sort it out. I was like, great. I love it.
Yeah.
Let him sort it out then. That's
Yeah.
fine.
That's
So
awesome.
essentially,
Yeah.
Sebastian got in trouble from his parents because he sold the AirPods for a pencil
Yeah.
case and a mouse. The thing was, is he didn't want to give the pencil case back. Brian and I were like, what is this
What kind
pencil
of
case?
pencil case is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's hilarious. And I love the little dealings that are happening. So there's some of that like an intangible that
Uh-huh.
you can push yourself to get in this, your kid to
And
get in this
for all
high
the
academically
schools that
performing
yeah,
school.
that you're talking about, is that those are magnet schools too? Like, you have to test into magnet schools there? It's not like a
Yes.
lot okay.
Yeah.
And I know Dominic will have to, because he's not coming from a CCSD school, will have to take a test this summer, but one of the things that I thought about, and I think our listeners, this will relate, and Kelly and I have talked about this before, about how in-person school was the hub of our entire life. And I
Yeah.
think we thought maybe at some point, and I think a lot of parents are like, "Oh, we want you to have what we had, and you go to school, and you go to homecoming, you go to the dance, and you're friends
Yes.
and whatever." And that may not be your kid's journey. And now there are a lot of options. Like, I was talking
Yeah.
to their baseball mom, and she wasn't sure whether she wanted to stay at our school. And I was like, "Our school has an online program, and online school kids can come there for lunch." And so to me, you could just like, because I talked with Dominic about that, go to online, get all your school done. Dominic predominantly identifies as an athlete, work out all day long, go to lunch if you want to go to lunch. And because we have club ball year round, he's social. He has practice. He's got batting
Yes.
cages. He see
Yes.
friends all
Yeah.
the time.
Yes.
And so it's like, even for Beckett, is that something that we have a lot of online school programs in Vegas? And some of them have things you have to go to in person. We also have for high school now, Nevada State High School. So actually it's Nevada. Is it still called Nevada State? Because it was called, now it's called like Nevada State University. It became a university, but Nevada State High School is an online high school, but there's also in-person components and things that you need to go to, and you have to do so many online things. But there's just so many other programs and things that kids can do that's okay. We can find something that meets their needs. Obviously, I don't know for middle school if a parent has to be home or not. And I
I
know for
think that
elementary a parent does,
that
but
I will say
yeah.
I'm very grateful because the vibe of his class, there are probably 5 or 6 families, like Michelle, 'cause Lila's in the bucket. There's a
Yeah.
lot of really
Yeah.
smart kids,
Yeah.
and they're all parents who are like us, who are, like,
Mhm.
fighting the, like, keeping them there for fun versus are they getting academically challenged, and so there's enough of a collective group of us that it's
Yeah.
actually forcing the school
Yeah.
to provide some resources for them, and they've
Yeah.
been doing that. So
Yeah.
hopefully that continues, and I'm
Yeah.
grateful for that as long as
Yeah.
that happens. But I agree. I think you have to figure out what's going to be work best for your kid. The other thing I told Beckett is like, it's not like Beckett's going to get dumber. If he's going to always be smart, that's just how he is. So let him go to this school. And then I told him, I was like, you can take honors classes in high school. You can take
Yeah.
AP courses. Like you can get to that
I
point. Just
was
enjoy grade school.
yeah, I was never challenged until college. I just did all my work and it was really easy for me. I learned like, I don't wanna say it was negative for me because I feel great with my
You did get
education, my
A in
life.
physics when I got a B, and we had the same exact class. Or I didn't. I think I
I
probably ended up with an A.
I didn't learn have good study skills. It all just came really easy to me, but I wasn't challenged. So we didn't have AP and we didn't have honors and I
Yeah.
didn't know how to study. And I felt like when I went to college, I felt like all my classes were taught another language and it was very difficult for me. Although I did go in and you went in engineering, I went in as like medical. So I did jump into like
Challenging.
calculus and chemistry and like super hard classes. So I feel sometimes when we're like, "Oh, they need to be challenged." I was like, "I was fine. I worked it out. It was fine." Like Beckett, I was sketchy. I did sketchy. You have the brain power then to do sketchy things on the side and then learn other skills.
Yeah, I don't like, what is it that what's the goal
Yeah.
here, right? Is it like
Yeah.
for our kids to like
Yeah.
jam in as much? Like there are kids like Dominic, or there are kids who they have that crave it.
Yeah.
Beckett in theory craves it, but I don't know if he really wants to do that much work. Because if he was, then read books when you come
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
Learn more in different ways, right? Like how motivated are you? And some
Yeah.
kids are, and that's great.
Yeah.
So you just have to, although he did buy a quantum
I
physics
mean,
book, it has
I'm
impetuses.
I'm pulling back, but here is what I have to say. Looking long term, Dominic wants to play baseball professionally. So I feel like yes, he's naturally intelligent. I'm not worried about him. He always scores off the chart. So my theory with Dominic is he's going to score super high on the ACT. So if he chooses all of a sudden I don't want to do baseball, I'm like, yeah, someone will pay for a school somewhere. He'll get a really high score. That's how I'm dealing with it. With my eldest daughter, we wanted her, she was wishy-washy for softball, like middle school, maybe freshman year, and that's what she wanted to do. So I always wanted to keep the options open for her. Hey, let's keep our grades really high. That way, if all of a sudden you're like, I hate softball, you still have all of these options, right? So she's getting a ton of academic scholarships because she has kept those grades up. And that's been like a balance. We're not crazy. We say ABs, right? ABs. Now this semester she gets straight A's. We're like, hey, if you could get straight A's right now, bump up your GPA. If she's applying early
Yeah.
admission, that would be great. If you could get the
Yes.
GPA up a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's not the same as it was like her freshman year was such a big change, but now she's in the swing of things. She understands things. She's going good. With my third child, I'm at a point where I'm like, listen, I don't care. Stay at our house. Go to UNLV. I don't really care anymore. Like A's, B's, C's, whatever. And he's very smart and he gets all A's, but I just am so it's funny, right? So my eldest is, you better get those grades. My middle, I'm like, and then by the final child, I'm like, yeah, you can live at home. We'll create a job for you. You can edit the podcast. It's just funny just to see how our kids are. But I think it is the, like you're talking about, it's like social and mental health and all of the things we to make sure, okay, it's not just academics.
Yeah.
Follow us as
Yeah.
we continue on this journey. We're going to be around a long
Yes.
time. So hopefully, listeners, you'll be with us when we find out what the heck happens with these kids in a decade or so.
Thanks for listening today. Don't forget to subscribe so you can hear our latest episodes as soon as they drop.
If you loved today's episode, share with a friend. Find us on Instagram, Facebook at Chasing Brighter, or check out our blog at chasingbrighter.com and follow us. If you want to know more about Kelly and I, read our blogs, find more tips, tools, and resources, check that out at chasingbrighter.com. Thanks. Remember, your best life is just a listen away.